There was a girl who thought she had lost everything. Not in the way people usually mean when they say that. Not a breakup or a job or a move to a new city. Something deeper. Something that shook the very foundation of her reality. She was living her normal life. Waking up each morning. Going through her routines. Enjoying the simple things. Coffee in the morning. Walks in the evening. The comfort of familiar faces and familiar places. Everything felt stable. Everything felt real. But one day, she heard something. Something she couldn't believe. Something that didn't make sense. It was like waking up from a dream only to realize you're still dreaming. The kind of news that makes your knees weak and your mind go blank. The thing that used to haunt her deepest fears had somehow become her reality. And when she looked around for someone to talk to, for someone to help her make sense of this impossible thing, there was no one. Not because people had abandoned her. But because in that moment, in her mind, in her heart, she felt completely and utterly alone. She told herself something terrifying. No one exists on this earth except me. It wasn't literal. It was the profound loneliness of realizing that no matter how many people surround you, some experiences are so isolating that you have to walk through them alone. No one could understand the specific weight she was carrying. Everything started to change. The colors looked different. The sounds felt distant. The world she knew became unfamiliar. She was physically present but emotionally adrift, floating in a space between what was and what is. And then she cried. Not polite tears. Not quiet sadness. She cried her heart out. The kind of crying that comes from the deepest part of your soul, the kind that leaves you exhausted and empty but somehow lighter. She let herself break completely, because sometimes breaking is the only honest response to devastation. But here's where her story becomes beautiful. She didn't stay broken. She didn't let that moment of complete isolation define her forever. She made a choice. A small one at first. She shifted her focus. Not to escape the pain, but to survive it. She looked for things that could keep her busy. Not distractions to numb herself, but anchors to keep her grounded. Tasks that required her attention. Small actions that reminded her she was still here, still capable, still moving forward. She started listening to sermons. To words of encouragement. To voices that reminded her of hope when her own voice had gone silent. She absorbed wisdom from people who had walked through darkness and emerged on the other side. She let their strength become hers when she had none left. Day by day, moment by moment, she built herself back. Not into who she was before. That version couldn't exist anymore. But someone new was emerging. Someone stronger, someone who had looked into the abyss and decided to climb out anyway. She learned that loneliness isn't always about being alone. Sometimes you can feel most isolated in a crowded room. But she also learned that solitude can be a teacher. In that empty space where she thought no one existed, she found herself.